The Game Boy Advance is adored by gamers everywhere because it had so many wonderful games made for it. Unfortunately, these games were easy to replicate, and as a result, the Game Boy Advance library is one of the most pirated of any game system. With the aid of internet shopping sites, these counterfeit games have spread throughout the world. Today, I'm going to show how to tell the fake cartridges apart from the real ones. Let me start by showing two Super Mario Advance 4 cartridges. One is real, one is fake. The most simple way to spot the fake is to know what the correct label art should look like. If the label looks convincing, then you need to move on and check some other things. Start by looking at the fine print. Spelling errors are a dead giveaway. It's a little hard to see, but on this one, instead of saying licensed by Nintendo, it says licfnsed by Nintendo. This error is quite common, so checking for it should be a high priority. Another thing that's wrong with this licfnsed error is the fact that Mario Advance is a first-party Nintendo game, so it makes no sense for them to license it to themselves. The real game simply has the Nintendo logo sitting by itself. Be sure to check the back for misspellings as well, such as this one that says Nintondo. Notice the I is also mistakenly capitalized. Tilt the game and look inside the opening at the bottom. Authentic games will have Nintendo printed on the circuit board, and the fake games will not. Also check the label under a light. If you tilt it just right, you should see a number imprint on the label. Almost all legit games have this. If you find a game that doesn't, be suspicious, and check for the other things I mentioned. The term made in Japan is sometimes missing from the back of fake games as well. They probably weren't made in Japan anyway. Sometimes a fake can be found just by playing the game. Since pirated games use cheap, substandard backup systems, many have lost the ability to save games properly over the years. Look for messages that pertain to save data, such as this one, which I get when I turn on Super Mario Advance 4. If you get such a message, it may still be a real game, just make sure you check for the other things I mentioned. Other than the issues involving save files, pirated games will play the same as real ones. If you have a well-trained eye, you might be able to spot the wrong product code on the front, the wrong model number on the back, or the Game Boy Advance logo being slightly altered. Any title in the Game Boy Advance library can be a fake, but popular games are more likely to be fake than unpopular ones, especially the first-party Nintendo games. The Pokémon games are the most pirated and need a high level of scrutiny. Luckily, they have something extra that can be checked, and that's the color and transparency of the cartridges. 3 games in the series should be partially transparent. Pokémon Ruby should be transparent red, Sapphire should be transparent blue, and Emerald should be transparent green. 2 others should have a more solid appearance, with only a tiny bit of transparency. FireRed should be light red, and LeafGreen should be light green. Pokémon Pinball and Pokémon Mystery Dungeon will have the common dark gray color, that's the same color as most other games. If you find a color mismatch or a transparency mismatch, it's a fake. One more thing about the Pokémon games. The 5 main ones should all have high quality foil labels stuck onto them. Avoiding fake games when shopping online is challenging, since you don't have the game in front of you, but there's some precautions you can take to minimize the risk of buying one. Never buy from someone unless they have a picture of the actual game. If they just use stock photos, then avoid them. For each game you're interested in, know what the correct label art should look like, as I mentioned before. Just do some internet research. You should be able to spot the fakes right away. For example, here's me doing a search on eBay for Super Mario Advance 4. I instantly see a fake one for sale. It even has the licfnsed typo. Here's another one I found. Unfortunately, people were bidding on it. When someone is selling a large lot of games, it's much harder to see what you're buying. The best you can do in this case is to ask the seller to email you the picture files. These original files will contain more detail than the pictures that are posted in the listing. Use a photo viewing program to zoom in and look for the fakes. Fake games are in circulation all over the world, but some regions have more counterfeiting going on than others, such as Southeast Asia. The safest bet is to just filter out all the international sellers. As a last defense, look for sellers who have good return policies, in case you miss all the signs of a fake game. That about covers it. The Game Boy Advance is a piece of gaming history. It had many great games, and it had many counterfeit games as well. By knowing what to look for though, you can keep it real.